Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from Interest.co.nz and welcome to the Roost Home Loan Affordability Report for July. This is a series of reports that Interest.co.nz puts together, sponsored by the Roost Mortgage Brokers Network, where we look at how much of your typical income is required to service the mortgage on a typical house. And we've been doing it for years now, so we look at how the trends are shifting. And in July, we saw a slight improvement in the Roost Home Loan Affordability Report across the nation. That's because the median house price dropped from a record high of $371,000 to just over $360,000. We're also seeing, of course, record low interest rates. And obviously, the equation for how much of your after-tax income is needed to service the debt requires a look at a few variables. That includes what's happening to interest rates, what's happening to house prices, and what's happening to after-tax incomes. It's worth now having a look at our long-term chart showing what's happened to affordability. And you can see here that when the proportion of your after-tax pay increases, that's obviously less affordable. So even though the chart's going up, you can see that things have gotten less affordable over this period. Now, if you start back in 2002 when we began the series, you can see that over that period, 2002 to 2008, affordability got a lot worse, obviously because house prices were rising much faster than incomes and interest rates were rising. Then, of course, at the beginning of 2008, as the global financial crisis started to hit and interest rates were cut and house prices started to fall, we saw a massive improvement. So back then, a single median income, you'd need about 80% of the after-tax pay to service the mortgage on an 80% home loan on a median-priced house. But obviously through 2008 into 2009, that improved dramatically from over 80% to around 54% or so. Then through late 2009 into 2010, we saw it deteriorate somewhat as house prices bounced back, and for a short period, interest rates rose. But then through 2009 and 10, we've seen a significant improvement as interest rates went back to their record lows and house prices were pretty subdued. Now, it has bounced along the bottom, and in recent months, we've seen the median house price rise somewhat. But you can see here, just the last month or so, we've seen a slight improvement to about 52% of after-tax pay for a single median income required to service an 80% home loan. However, that measure of home loan affordability, and that's our typical measure, doesn't take into account whether you're a first home buyer or whether you've got a couple of incomes in the household. And obviously for most people, they're buying a house with two incomes. And when you look at those numbers for first home buyers, you're around about the 22-23% mark of your after-tax pay needed to service the debt on a first quartile home. And let's have a look then at what we're seeing for home loan affordability for first home buyers. And you can see here by going to our property section. And when you look at our first home loan buyers report, you can see that there has been an improvement overall in recent months. Let's go here. You can see that when you click through, you can go through the first home buyers. Again, when you look at the measure here across the nation, you've got the standard buyer here and the first home buyer. It's a lower proportion, obviously, down there around the 44% mark. And that's improved significantly from where we were 2009, up over the 57% mark. And of course, when you've got two incomes, you're looking at just over 20%. And that's the best level in 7 years. Now, of course, there's some regional variations. And when you look at, for example, Auckland, that is significantly higher than for the rest of the country, and the same for Christchurch. And of course, we've got some supply constraints happening there in Auckland and Christchurch, which are affecting house prices and affecting housing affordability. Well, there we have it, the Roost Home Loans Housing Affordability Report for July. We'll be back in another month to get an idea of how housing affordability or home loan affordability has changed. I'm Bernard Hickey for Interest.co.nz.